And we'll end the questions here. And
At the pretext of COP28, its the chairman said, we can only cut emission, we can't cut production. So in such scenario, how can we achieve green estimated net zero target? And my second question, under carbon border adjustment mechanism, EU ETS put sanction on China and India for exporting its iron, steel and aluminum, while they exempted US. So under such discriminatory scenario, how trade and commerce can flourish globally? Thank you.
so we will end with Mr. Singh's response. But over to you.
Well, thank you very much. There's a wide array of questions, in addition to comments that Harsh made. First, let me make some comments on the very useful intervention by you, Harsh, on a couple of points. I agree with you on your experience, not a very happy one, with the IFC. Part of the malaise, IFC cannot act in isolation. One of the factors that inhibited IFC from doing is that IFC could not take on obligations of ensuring and protecting against sovereign risks. And that was a handicap. The big proposal which we have made is to triple or quadruple the quantum and exposure of MIGA, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, to act in tandem with IFC, and given both of them somewhat daunting targets, with a path where MIGA can play an increasingly more important role along with IFC's own enhanced lending capacity. I agree with you that the banks with which Naina was associated acts with much greater alacrity than an entity like the World Bank. But that's what I said, that if those working in multilateral development banks act with the same psychology, that they are not a private bank, they want to behave like a public sector bank, that is the malaise. Waiting for clients to show up with processes and procedures which are exceedingly cumbersome and antiquated, then these institutions will lose contemporary relevance. They have to harness the capital available. And I hope, Naina, we were right in assuming that a lot of private capital is waiting outside. It needs to be harnessed. We believe that. We acted on that. And our recommendations are designed to harness exactly that large private capital. But that requires a different approach. It requires a different mindset. It requires a different kind of HRD talent and ability. A big challenge for Banga, who I wish all the well. He's one of the most dynamic bankers who has come. He's tried to shake up a bit. He's tried to shake up minds as much as personnel. He told me that it may be easier to influence minds, because everybody looks to job security, than to change personnel. But that's the challenge which is there, altering the mindset of people working in the institutions, having the comfort of a bureaucratic organization with a large pay and with a short pension in protected against any other currency fluctuations. So I must say that I'm sanguine that in the path which exists in the implementation of this report, which has been accepted by the G20 now. We had a great session in Paris about a month and a half ago, Naina, when President Macron himself decided to moderate the panel where I was there on the reforms of the multilateral development banks. I had one in Dubai 3-4 days ago. The mindset is one in which in the 30 important recommendations which we have made, and there are 30 of them only. So you can read it in a page of what these recommendations are without going into the complexities. On each one, he has set up a working group, and we are going to have a assessment report in April, which we'll give to the spring meeting of the IMF and World Bank. So keeping constant focus, nudging them, keeping the pressure alive, not allowing the current focus that the world has on these to die down will be a path forward. But I agree that clearly requires a different way in which you can do risk mitigation in a reasonable way. On risk mitigation, though, I must tell you on a lighter vein that when this issue came up in the independent expert group, a very distinguished economist of considerable repute, in the 5 members that we have, he was a member. And he said, look, can it be that the private sector is expecting unusually high rates of return? And is that rate of return that they are expecting a reasonable rate of return? So he ended up with the classic question that can it be therefore a case that profits are private, risks are public? So it was and then without wanting to part with secrets, Larry being Larry, asked me the reverse question. The NK, you have worked for far too long in the Indian Treasury establishments. That can it also be that the conditions which you impose and the precautions which you take by way of prudential standards, the onerous, the damn stuff doesn't come in, and the capital doesn't come in. So it's possible either way, that therefore, what is therefore really needed is innovatively to craft a strategy which does not confer unintended benefits to the private sector while having incentives where the opportunity cost of alternative investments becomes attractive enough for private sector to be really able to put in. And that is what we have tried to do in this report. On a couple of other comments which are asked, on Gift City, a very useful suggestion. I'm happy to tell you that the Gift City delegation, and that as an example of Gift City, was in Dubai, met them also when they were in Washington, and that is an area where I think that we need to do more for India to take the benefit of. So I agree with the Gift City example. On FDI and why it has come down, we shouldn't look to all this. Foreign direct investment in India is rising as more and more sectors and opportunities will become evident. And there is no doubt that over the medium term, India will occupy a much bigger space on access to and availability of direct foreign investment than has been possible in the past. It's also that the NRI's remittances, yes, I saw that figure, they have traditionally been great support, but please look at the fact that the uncertainties created by pandemic have also resulted in a period, so you need to discount that period of the pandemic, look at long-term trends. In the long run, I expect both remittance to rise. I also expect the FDI to go up. On the MSME or China versus India, I think that we are taking conscious steps. For instance, in the new opportunities, in the MDB reforms, the World Bank is creating a special window for being able to harness and support MSMEs in India. And policies and availability designed to meet the needs of the growing MSEB sector. On net zero, carbon border adjustment, that's a very complex area. Harsh, one of the most fascinating sessions that I attended in Dubai was outside the COP. It was a subject, science, politics, economics, carbon capture, carbon storage. Technology is changing rapidly. For instance, what would it be for the really steel and cement, which are the two most difficult sectors and really dependent quite a bit on fossil fuel? So is the current cost on carbon capture representing, that's going down very dramatically, the cost of carbon capture. But then storage for how many years? What kind of a assured storage, and what will be the cost of that? And how will all this therefore impact on the final outcome of the traditional materials from which we need to therefore move away in a conscious by way of strategy? That, I agree, will be necessary if the daunting target of net zero that India has taken upon is to be met. We need to go more deeply into the politics, science, economics. Science is developing in a phenomenal way, which will impact the economics of carbon capture, carbon sequestration, carbon storage in a manner where this can be really assured. It is central to the world. It's also central to India's strategy of reaching the targets which we have taken upon ourselves of becoming a net zero economy. So thank you very much.